Chris Beard is an effing magician. He's done it again as the Longhorns add another big-time piece from the transfer portal. Unbelievable. This time, Tre Mitchell, the big man, transferring from UMass. First team All-Atlantic 10 last year. 2 years ago, he was named A10 Rookie of the Year. That was his freshman season. And just another incredible front court piece for this Texas basketball roster going into 2021. This roster is unbelievably talented. It is loaded with experience. It is loaded with maturity. And my goodness, Chris Beard has done a phenomenal job putting together a contender in his first offseason here in Austin, Texas. What's up, guys? BK, Brad Kellner. Appreciate y'all stopping by. If you haven't done so yet, please like this video. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to this channel. Tap that little notification bell as well so you're always informed whenever I release new content. And I want to give some love to our video sponsor, Last Stand Hats. Use code BK10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase of any Last Stand hat. Once again, laststandhats.com, BK10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase. Let's talk about Tre Mitchell for a minute, and then we'll get to the overall outlook for the Longhorns in the 21-22 season. The outlook is pretty damn good right now. But Tre Mitchell, 6'9", 240 big man coming over from UMass. I mentioned he was first-team all-conference last year. I know UMass, I know the Atlantic 10 is not Texas, and it's not the Big 12, but the A10 is one of the best mid-major conferences in all of college basketball. So it's not like Tre Mitchell has been putting up his numbers against scrubs the last couple of years. I mean, the A10 is generally a multi-bid league for the NCAA tournament. You've got teams like VCU there. Dayton's in that conference. Rhode Island's in that conference as well. I mean, you've got some teams that have had tournament success in the Atlantic 10 in recent college basketball years. So, of course, this will be a step up in competition for Tre Mitchell going from the A10 to the Big 12, but we're not talking about a D2 or a D3 or a JUCO guy taking his talents to Texas. We're talking about a guy who has experience starting for a very reputable program in a very respectable conference in today's college basketball. What are the stats? I keep talking about the numbers. About 19 points and 7 boards a game for Tre Mitchell as a sophomore last year. A very shortened sophomore season for UMass. They only played 15 games as a team due to COVID. Tre Mitchell himself only played 13 games. Once again, he was named first team all conference. I think UMass only played 7 or 8 conference games, which was way less than just about everybody in the Atlantic 10. And despite the small sample size, Tre Mitchell was still named as a first team all conference player. As a freshman, I mentioned he was named Rookie of the Year in the A10 2 seasons ago. He averaged 17 points per game. This guy's very efficient as well, shoots over 50% from the floor. He's a big man who shoots well from the charity stripe as well, shot over 70% from the free throw line last year. And Tre Mitchell is way more of a traditional back-to-the-basket type of post player, but he also can step out and knock down a mid-range jumper or two, and he could step back and knock down a 3 or 2 every single night. He is a threat from all levels, but, man, back to the basket, he's the type of guy you can just throw him the ball on the low block and expect him to get you 2 points. He's got a variety of post moves, a repertoire, if you will, of go-to moves down on the low block. This guy could score with both hands. He could score from any angle, and he does a great job using his size to create leverage on defenders to give him easy baskets near the post. Matter of fact, last year, according to Synergy, Tre Mitchell scored 7.5 points per game out of post-ups, which was top 10 in the country in all of college basketball. 7.5 points per game out of post-ups. So I'm telling you, he's the type of guy you could just throw him the ball on the low block, and that can be your offense for a possession. He's the guy who can get you a bucket. Great footwork, great touch inside as well. And it was 8 conference games that Tre Mitchell played in last year for UMass. Once again, still named first team all conference. So a big, big get, one of the best remaining players in the transfer portal. And Chris Beard was able to land Tre Mitchell over a number of high-profile schools. But the final 2, according to multiple sources, for Tre Mitchell were Texas and Florida State. And Leonard Hamilton at Florida State has done a phenomenal job in recruiting both high school players, but also players from the transfer portal over the years. Like, if your school is recruiting a big-name player, and Florida State's a finalist, you're in trouble because usually Leonard Hamilton is able to close on guys like Tre Mitchell. But that just shows you how damn good Chris Beard is at this. This is 5 high-profile transfers this offseason for Chris Beard and this new Texas coaching staff. You've got Devin Askew, of course, the point guard coming from Kentucky. Utah small forward Timmy Allen, who was a first-team All-Pac-12 player last year. Dylan Dessou, the local Pflugerville product, who was an all-conference player at Vanderbilt last year, the leading rebounder in the SEC as well. And then Christian Bishop transferring in, another big man from Creighton. All 5 of those guys have started at least, 4 of those guys, Askew is not, but 4 of those guys have started at least 30 games in their collegiate careers, and all of those guys are coming from respectable college basketball programs. And it's funny, guys, because last year, what did we talk about throughout the entirety of the 2020-2021 season? It was, well, Shaka Smart better win now because this is his best roster. And after this year, this roster is not going to look that good. Right? I mean, last year was a huge year for Shaka Smart for a number of reasons, but we all felt like going into last season, Shaka Smart had his most talented and most experienced roster. And it was one of the most talented and most experienced rosters in all of college basketball. And Texas had a great regular season. Of course, they won the Big 12 Conference Tournament. We know what happened after that. But the conversation throughout the year was, okay, this team better win now because you've got a bunch of seniors and you've got a couple of one-and-done guys, and it's going to be a complete roster rebuild after this year. So if Texas doesn't win in 2020, 2021, then you felt like, all right, man, they might not win for a while. And then in comes Chris Beard, and you can argue this roster is more talented than the roster that Texas had last year. Like, it took Shaka Smart 6 years to build a contending roster, and Chris Beard has done it in one off season. No, by the way, he lost a lot of guys from last year's team. Of course, some pieces are coming back. You get your Andrew Jones, you get your Courtney Ramey, Chase Fabris, Brock Cunningham. Those guys coming back helps, but the majority of this roster that Chris Beard has assembled has come from the transfer portal. It really has. And I didn't even mention Avery Benson, too, coming over from Texas Tech, who's going to be more of a deep bench, rotational role type of player for this Texas team. He's not a guy who's going to log a bunch of minutes, but he's a guy that knows Chris Beard's system. He was with Chris Beard at Texas Tech, and hopefully he can help teach the guys currently at Texas a little bit about how Chris Beard likes to operate and how he likes to run his program. Plus, you've got Jalen Tyson, one of the top 50 recruits in the country, coming in as well. You've got Gavin Perryman, who is not on scholarship yet, but I would guess at some point he is going to be on scholarship for this Texas squad this coming season. I mean, Chris Beard has put together a championship contending roster, guys. I was almost hesitant to say it, but from top to bottom, this is one of the more talented rosters in all of college basketball. And this is one of the most talented front courts in all of college basketball. The big question for me for this team is point guard, right? Devin Askew, a former 5-star out of high school, but his freshman season at Kentucky did not go well at all. Some of that's probably on him. Some of that is on John Calipari. I mean, everybody on Kentucky was terrible last year. They had one of the worst seasons in program history. They were god-awful. So I still think there's some talent within Devin Askew, but, we haven't quite seen it to the level we would like just yet. And without Matt Coleman, you're not quite sure what you have at the point guard position. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Chris Beard is still looking at a point guard in the transfer portal. This team still has a couple of scholarships to fill. Keep in mind, guys, Jace Fabris does not count against the team's scholarship total next year because he's a COVID super senior. And if Jericho Sims comes back, I don't think he will, but if he does come back, he also will not count against this team's scholarship limit because he will also be a COVID super senior. But guys, in terms of front court, I mean, last year's front court with Kai Jones, with Greg Brown, with Jericho Sims, with Royce Hamm, that was one of the most athletic and one of the most talented front courts in all of college basketball. And with potentially all of those guys departing, you were thinking, all right, there's no way this Texas front court is going to be as good this year as it was last year. There's a chance it's even better. I mean, you've got more experience, you've got more maturity, and once again, you're talking about Timmy Allen, who was first-team All-Pac-12 last year, averaged 17, 6, and 4 for Utah. Dylan Dessou, the leading rebounder in the SEC, who averaged 15 and 9 for Vanderbilt a season ago. Christian Bishop for a Creighton team that made it to the Sweet 16 for the first time in school history. 11 points, 6 rebounds, more than a block a game as well. and now Tre Mitchell, who averaged 19 and 7. Experience, maturity, and skill. I mentioned all of those guys have at least 30 starts under their belts. And it's not out of the question, ladies and gentlemen, to think that Texas could start the season in the top 10. Matter of fact, Jeff Goodman from Stadium, who was actually on with Bucky and Aaron on the Horn. Check that out, hornfm.com, if you missed that interview. But Jeff Goodman, one of the most prominent college basketball writers in the country, released an updated, way too early preseason top 25. He's got Texas number 3. Number 3, behind only Gonzaga and Villanova, 2 of the perennial contenders in recent college basketball. How crazy is that, guys? He has Texas as his top-ranked team in the Big 12. So Chris Beard, when he got here, when he took the job, he let his nuts hang. I mean, he raised the expectations for himself, right? At the University of Texas, it's always football, then it's baseball, and then basketball is a distant third in terms of expectations. It's why Shaka Smart got 6 years here despite having 0 postseason success. We've seen it with football, with Charlie and Tom Herman not getting that much time. Hell, Tom Herman had more success than Shaka Smart did, and he only got 4 years. We see it in baseball, right? The jury for some people is still out for David Pierce. But in basketball, yeah, you're usually given more leeway at the University of Texas. But when Chris Beard got here, he said it at his introductory press conference. He wants to win, and he wants to win right now. And I was excited with the hire. I think he's a top 10, if not top 5 coach in college basketball. And what he did in Lubbock was nothing short of spectacular. I mean, it only took 2 years for Texas Tech to make it to the Elite Eight. It took 3 years for Texas Tech to make it all the way to a national championship game. So there was reason to believe that Chris Beard could do that here. But, man, with all the roster turnover and all the uncertainty going into year 1, I wasn't quite sure what to expect for Texas this season. I love the Chris Beard hire. I still love the Chris Beard hire. I think we all love it even more now with what he's done in terms of putting together a great coaching staff. I mean, an elite coaching staff and a fantastic roster that's loaded with talent and experience as well. But, man, there is reason to believe, and it's not just Texas people who believe, that this team can compete for big things this coming season. I mean, we're talking about maybe a Big 12 regular season championship, which hasn't happened here in a long time, and we're talking about potentially a deep tournament run. Obviously, you have questions with chemistry because most of these guys have not played together, and Chris Beard and a new staff coming in here for year 1, it might take some time to mesh and get together. Thankfully, Texas basketball can have a full off season, right? If this was last off season with COVID protocol, I wouldn't be nearly as confident as this all being able to come together as I am right now. I'm not sure what I'm doing with my hands, guys. I'm sorry. I'm pantomiming like a mofo right now. But because it's a full off season and because you've got Chris Beard and because you've got a great coaching staff that consists of 2 guys who were head coaches in D1 college basketball last year, there are a lot of reasons to be incredibly optimistic for this Texas basketball team. I'm going to try to pull up this Jeff Goodman article real quick so I can read you his exact verbiage for why he has Texas as highly ranked as he does. Oh, come on, Google. Do me a solid here. If I don't get it, we don't have to have it in this video. I'm filibustering here, guys. But let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the job that Chris Beard has done thus far. And the excitement surrounding this program is sky high. I mean, I know the Rick Barnes days were the heyday for Texas basketball, and fan excitement was incredibly high then. But, man, it feels like the enthusiasm, the excitement, the buzz surrounding this program is higher than it's ever been. Of course, you've got the Moody Center coming next year. You've got the new practice facility coming next year as well. It's all coming together for Texas. And the transfer portal, Chris Beard cashed in with the portal at Texas Tech. If he's able to do that in Lubbock, there was always reason to believe that he would be able to do that here in Austin, and we are absolutely seeing just that. All right, found the Jeff Goodman article. We're loading here. So he's got Gonzaga number 1, Villanova number 2, Texas number 3, and here is the little description, the little blurb we'll get from Jeff Goodman, and then I'll wrap this thing up. He says, Chris Beard and his staff brought 2 double-digit scores back to Austin in Jones and Ramey and added 5 top transfers. The point guard spot will be the key, and whether asked, you can be a frontline floor leader, but there's enough talent in Austin to go with one of the best coaches in the country. So that's the description from Jeff Goodman there. By the way, Kansas, he has number 4, UCLA, who made it all the way to the Final Four, number 5 in Jeff Goodman's preseason top 25 for next season in college basketball. So Chris Beard, he's a magician, man. He's done it again. Another top transfer coming to Austin, Texas, USA, America. This time, Tre Mitchell, the big man coming over from UMass. Texas is putting together one of the best front courts in the country, one of the best rosters in the country, and there are still some scholarship spots available for Chris Beard. So I don't think he's finished, guys. Probably looking at a point guard, maybe looking at another wing piece as well. This roster was already loaded with talent. You've got a national guy who thinks this is a top 3 roster in college basketball, and there's reason to believe that it's going to get better. I'm so pumped for Texas basketball. I am so pumped for Texas basketball, guys. You guys know how much I love Texas hoops. You guys know how much I love college hoops. I've always thought the expectations surrounding this program were too low. I want Texas basketball expectations to be on par with the expectations for Texas football and Texas baseball, because there's no reason that they're not. And now Chris Beard is changing that. And I'll give Chris Del Conte some love too. I feel like I give him love during every single one of these videos. He deserves love during pretty much every single one of these videos. He is raising the bar for Texas basketball. 146 days away from the start of the 2021-2022 season. That's what I was checking on my phone. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Listen to the Triple Option with RBKD weekdays from 3 to 7. And please like this video. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to this channel and comment below your thoughts on the job Chris Beard has done. Also, any future video ideas. I do this for y'all, so I would love to hear any and all feedback. Appreciate the love, guys. Until next time, y'all stay safe. Y'all stay healthy. And hook 'em.